in Africa. No bird can fly with one wing. When Africa achieves full economic empowerment of women, it will fly with two wings and achieve its best growth rates ever. Yet today, you have $42 billion of financing gap between women and men in Africa. That's a gap we must close, and close very fast, because without economic investment in women in Africa, we will not achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. And that's why the African Development Bank launched the Affirmative Finance Action for Women in Africa, AFAWA, in partnership with the African Guarantee Fund. AFAWA is establishing a $300 million risk-sharing facility that will de-risk lending to women by financial institutions in Africa. And I would like to thank you, President Macron, for helping to mobilize the amount of $251 million that you mentioned from the G7, and also for your own personal contribution of $135 million. Please join me in actually thanking the President.
Thank you.
AFAWA will help to leverage $3 billion directly for women businesses in Africa. And I must say, it is the largest ever such effort in Africa's history. AFAWA will provide technical assistance for women businesses to prepare bankable business plans, and also support women financial institutions to make their assistance friendly for women and their businesses. AFAWA will, in a very systematic way, transform the way financial institutions deal with women on the continent. To achieve this, the African Development Bank will set up a women financing index, which will rate and rank all financial institutions on the continent based on the volume of their lending to women, on the terms of lending, and the development finance impact of all their lending on women for the continent. In other words, AFAWA will make financial institutions in Africa finally accountable to women. The African Development Bank will also put more of its own capital on the table for women to complement AFAWA. Over the next 5 years, Mr. President, the African Development Bank, through its own regular lending operations, will provide $1 billion of lines of credit for women businesses. We will provide another $1 billion in trade finance for women businesses to support their participation in the continental free trade area. And we will provide $100 million in private equity investments in businesses of women in Africa. So through AFAWA and the direct lending operations of the African Development Bank, women in Africa will be provided with $5 billion of new financing over the next 5 years. And what a different Africa this will be for women. An economically empowered, thank you, an economically empowered